Hello again, everyone.
Hi, I'm Melanie Carr, Vice President of Escapees RV Club.
And I am Travis Carr, the president of Escapees RV Club, and we're also the founders of Escapers as well.
That's right. Thank you guys for joining us for another edition of the Virtual Campfire. If you don't know what a virtual campfire is, they are kind of a new thing we're doing to bring the community together online, and they're supposed to be just really relaxed. They can be educational, they can be interviews, and we also cover a lot of club updates and things like that, and they happen bi-weekly, and we alternate between the Escapees page and the Escapers page.
Yeah, and we would love to be outside around a real campfire right now, but here in Texas, it's getting very hot and it's still very sunny. So unfortunately, we're not around the campfire yet.
Yeah. We thought about it, but then we were like, we don't want to be sweating the whole time.
Yeah, so yeah, did you talk about how these are normally about interviews and kind of club activities and news and things like that as well, and try to bring a little bit of education. And I think we have a really fun guest we're going to introduce here in a little bit.
Yeah.
Not quite yet, but a little special guest for especially myself and Melanie. So, but anyways.
But as far as club updates go, there's not a whole lot going on right now. You know, it's a little quiet. As in, like, activities,
right.
You know, we're trying to bring everybody together online. We hope that you've joined us for some of those online virtual activities. But one way we have tried really hard to bring the community together over the past few weeks is through our T-shirt campaign, which I hope you've heard about by now. But we are offering two different designs that our marketing department put together. Brandon designed those, our brand designer. And today is actually the last day to get your orders in. As you can see, it's ending soon in bold red because you only have a few more hours. So after you hop off here, take a look at the links and choose them before it's too late.
Yeah, so we hope you kind of support the club, like you said. They really do help us out. And they're just awesome designs. We've really introduced kind of some new designs, especially the Some More Campfires Ahead obviously speaks to the moment, but also some optimistic approach with a new design that we've never kind of seen with the club. So we're kind of excited about that too.
We want to see you guys wearing them actually in a real campfire soon at an event, and we can safely hold those. But the T-shirts will be $25 for the T-shirt, or what is the hoodie? $38 for the hoodie. And on the Essential, since 1978, there are a couple different colors you can choose from there. And the S'mores, we have a ladies cut and a unisex style. So we try to offer a few different options, and we hope that you'll find one that you like.
So don't delay. It's the last day. So.
It's not like a commercial.
They made us do this, okay?
Yeah. It's the last day.
But seriously, we do look forward to seeing you guys in the shirts. We look forward to getting ours as well. I think we got one of each.
Yeah, we got hoodies and
some
shirts.
Hoodies and some shirts and some things too. So we're excited for those to come in really once they get the final order gets placed. Yeah. So, well, without further ado, why don't we bring on our special guest who happens to be Cathie Carr, my mother, who I call Mom. So we'll give her a second to get in here. Awesome. Hi, Mom.
Hi. I love seeing your smiling faces, but I wish we could see some of those others.
Yeah, exactly. So if you don't know who Mom is, her name is Cathie Carr. She is the daughter of Joe and Kay Peterson, who was very instrumental in the club's history and kind of really where the club stands today. So we're really excited to bring her on and kind of talk about the history and her personal journey a little bit, and just have some fun conversation like we normally would around a campfire.
Yeah, so if you didn't know, she is the past president of Escapees RV Club.
And CEO.
Yes, and CEO. So if you want to give a quick introduction of yourself, that'd be great. In case I'm sure there are many people in the comments that know who you are, but there may be some who don't.
Sure. You basically gave my titles, but I, of course, have been in the club since it was founded. My parents, when they founded the club, I was already a full-timer, and so it was a nice fit for me. And I can go into a long story about it, but
and we got time.
I'll let you direct this.
Well, that actually just leads into the first question we wanted to ask. And if you're following along in the comments, answer the question with us. But share your story of how long you've been RVing. What year did you start RVing? And go from there.
Yeah, I guess, I started probably like every other outdoor lover as a camper. Our family was big time campers. And then, but I was really introduced into the full time lifestyle when my parents decided to sell the house and go full timing. I was about 17 years old. And so I hitched along with them for a summer and absolutely fell in love with the lifestyle. And later became a full-timer myself in 1975. Bought my first rig then and just hit the road as well. It was great.
So 17 years old and, RVing kind of not really being in the boom, I think, well, you would know more than me that it is kind of today in the normality. I mean, what was the take like when you heard that you were going to be hitting the road with, Joe, Grandma and Grandpa, and what your friends and people think about that too?
Yeah.
Like, how did you feel?
It was a little bit kicking and screaming at first, but it didn't take long. I was quick to meet people along the road, and like I said, it was kind of just a summer, and then I was back trying to decide what kind of work I could find that would allow me to travel, because I fell in love with it, but I needed to find a job that would work, that would support me on the road. So Joe was a union electrician, so I tried to get into the apprenticeship program with the electricians union because it was a great way to follow construction, and it was just really difficult to get into that. So I ended up going to college for a RN degree. And after the first year completed with that, I got an opportunity to join the Millwrights Union, which would then allow me to go ahead and hit the road and start traveling and doing big jobs and even working with my dad sometimes. So that was kind of cool.
Awesome.
Yeah, so you did start out RVing with them. What was your first RV that was one that you called your own?
Yeah, and I think I know the inside secret here to this, but I'm kind of curious. Maybe you can tie in a little bit or tell a story afterwards of how your first RV relates to Rainbow's End a little bit.
Oh, the name of it. Yeah, it kind of followed along there. My first RV, and I swear, I think it was the best RV ever. I don't remember the year. It was a used RV. It was a Silver Streak. And Airstreams, of course, everybody knows Airstreams, and they're really popular. And I see Silver Streaks on the road once in a while and just look at them longingly because it was such a quality rig, with a 24-foot little thing, and cozy and super well made. And it was just, every time I was just talking to Bud about how much I love that rig, and I would love to have it back today. We own so many different types, pulls, straight pulls and fifth wheels and big rigs and small rigs. And I still think I'm partial to that one.
Mm-hmm.
Before we kind of move into the Rainbow's End story, because the name of your rig was Rainbow's End, right?
No, the first rig was just called the Rainbow.
Oh, okay.
It was called the Rainbow. And then later, the bigger rig that we settled down, parked actually at Rainbow's End, was called Rainbow 2. And so then mom and Joe asked, what would we call our park? And I said, well, since my rig's parked here and I may never get out again, let's call it Rainbow's End.
That's funny, because I know a lot of people wonder, like, why Rainbow's End? It's kind of a unique name. So yeah, it's funny that that's kind of where the story came from. It's good to those little history bits, and I didn't even know it 100% still. And I thought I did, but I have to admit, me and Mel had our Airstream as well, as you know, and it was a really awesome, RV for us. Well, a lot, and the only reason we don't have that anymore is just because of space for our kids. For us personally, it just didn't work for a lot of reasons. But
I have a feeling.
But it was one of those.
We will be in another Airstream again.
Yeah, it's kind of one of those rigs too. You always just remember,
And also, Gabe, every time he sees one going down the road, he's like, "My metal home."
I know.
Today we traded it in, and he still is like, "When are we getting that back?"
Yes.
Yeah, exactly. So, if you're listening along, comment. Feel free to chime in. Let us know when you started RVing, what rig you're in, what your favorite RV was. Feel free to participate. And while we're at it,
Cherie.
Yeah, we got Cherie and Cheryl, and who else we got? Amy. It's nice to see you guys.
My eyesight's not that good.
I know. I'm always like.
All right.
So, I'm sure over the years you've been many, many places and there are several RVs that you've had, but if you could boil it down to your favorite destination or one of the most beautiful places you've RV'd, what would you pick?
Yeah, been so fortunate in having the opportunity to be in so many places. I've been in every state. You have to, Travis, with us quite a bit, but every state in the U.S. and Alaska and so forth, and Canada, and just so many. How can you pick? It's like trying to pick the prettiest flower in a bouquet, right? So the Canadian Rockies are awesome, but Alaska is probably my favorite state. But there's to be honest, I think sometimes while all the national parks are gorgeous and we all want to go, everybody should go to those because they are so incredible. But the real gems sometimes are the ones you find just randomly along the way, and you just stumble upon them, and they're this magical place that has no name. It's just this beautiful place.
Yeah, and I think we've had a lot of our favorite places that we name. It's not necessarily that they're like the most beautiful or like the cool, like the most unique place. I think a lot of it's really just associated with those memories. Really key memories that you have at a certain time period. Like one
Arkansas.
of them is Arkansas, the Great Lake. It's a Corps of Engineers park. You guys have been there. Was one of our very first when we started RVing together.
And your
with
dad was
Gabe,
with us.
and Dad was there too. And that's one of our cover photos with Gabe leaning over that rail in front of our very first RV, the Class C that we had. That place just holds a special place because it was just one of those monumental, like, starting to get serious as RVers ourselves, even though we've been RVing forever, but, our immediate family, first family trip. It was just really special, and I think that just always holds a cool place in our heart, just like Monterey. Laguna Seca there in Monterey. The park is, it's a nice park. It's got a nice view, but it's not anything, just totally crazy.
The time we spent there, the things we did together as a family, all the hiking we did, everything about that special trip is just makes us want to go back anytime we can. And you can't recreate that, but, it's just, you think about the places you've been and everything you accomplished while you were there, and that's what means the most.
It's like a big video, right? That flashes through your mind. And one of the places that, and I think a lot of RVers love, if you haven't been there, you should give it a try, is Sedona. Sedona, Arizona.
I've got negative memories though with Sedona. I love the place, but
don't put your bad vibes on everybody else. That was your fault.
If you don't know what happened, I happened to get a 40-foot diesel pusher, completely high-centered, just stuck in a road on Sedona going. So it was an interesting.
And we were meeting, I think, with Brandon and Carissa that day, and we were trying to get to our spot by like 2:00 to meet with them, and then we get stuck. And this local stopped and helped us, brought all this stuff out. He was the nicest man ever. And as he's leaving, he just turns around and he's like, "Well, welcome to Sedona, then." Just walked away. He was the nicest guy ever.
You were smart though, how you got that out. I remember that. And you put your I won't go into all the details, but I thought you were pretty clever.
We used our jacks to lift it up, and then we blocked and did it was a process. But
we've all been there, done that, Travis. I remember traveling with my parents and Joe getting just stuck in the mud and us going, "Ooh, I don't think you should give that a try." And sure enough, Joe, he pulls down in there and just gets his with the Airstream, gets it stuck up to the, just to the fenders. And it's like, okie dokie.
We'll wait till it dries out or what? Yeah. I don't know.
Pardon?
We'll just wait till it dries out, I guess.
Yeah. He got out of it. He was like you. He's pretty sharp when it came to figuring things out.
So we had a couple comments. Let's look through those. Cherie said, or we have Amy who said, "I started full timing in 2003.
Wow.
It's a long time."
That's awesome.
And then Cherie, full timing since 2006 and currently on our boat. Shh, don't tell Bud.
Make him jealous.
Yep. And then Cheryl, we started full timing in 2016. We live in our landmark fifth wheel, which is our first rig, and they love it. That's awesome. And then we have a question. Amy, Devin, for me, the big question I have is, where do we see the full-time RVing going now that companies, tech ones, are seeing the need to invest in remote working? How is the community preparing for the explosion for more people on the road and in the parks?
Yeah, I mean, we've been talking a lot about that question, and we'll come back to talk more about distance traveling. But while we're on it, we've been talking a lot, and I think this is actually relates a little bit to the history for you, Mom. It's we always talk about in our age of RVing, it's totally different. Having the internet, having social media, having email, having cell phones, and all these GPS and all these things that are disposal. That you guys didn't have that then, and I'm kind of curious, how was working then compared to now? Did you? I mean, how was it? And then we'll kind of go into where we see this going.
Yeah, so very different. I mean, I think I mean, I'm talking about I started in the 70s, so even the 70s and 80s and all that. There was no computers, there was no internet, of course, there was no, heck, we didn't even have cell phones, so there was pay phones and a sack of quarters, to carry with you to do everything. Even getting cash on the road was really difficult because we didn't have ATM machines and you didn't use credit cards like you do today. Every single aspect of RVing was, I guess you would say, it was truly pioneering back then compared to where we are now. We didn't think about it. We thought it was, just normal, and we got by just fine, and we figured out ways to manage. But we didn't have GPS. We had our good old Atlas, and that was it. So yeah, where we are today is phenomenal. I mean, look at the explosion of full-timers. I mean, back then there really wasn't hundreds of thousands of full-timers. There was, kind of more than a handful probably, but not a lot. And education it was really hard to educate. It was really hard to communicate and pass information on, which is of course why my parents, Kay and Joe, started the club, was a means of getting that information out. And it had to be all through paper, and that was the only means, was through like a little newsletter at the time.
Mm-hmm. And I assume a lot of it was like on-site. I mean, it had to be on-site jobs, like union electrician or traveling. It had to be something that you were doing in person. I mean, there just wasn't a means to really be remote then, and so I think that's the big shift. I mean, we still obviously have a lot of traveling occupations, out there that are part of the club and RV lifestyle. But I mean, it's obvious that remote working has had a huge influx or impact on the lifestyle just in the past years, and now with everything going on currently. I mean, it could be interesting.
Well, I feel, not to toot our own horn as an organization, but I feel like we have been ahead of that curve with everything we've accomplished with Escapers. We have JP who holds all these events throughout the year for us. Our marketing team is working remotely, a lot of them. So we've felt prepared for that as an organization for a while. And I think it's just right now, kind of watching the trends. You're watching these big companies say our employees don't have to come back into the office anymore. So all of those things will lead to an influx, we feel, with people hitting the road.
Yeah, and I think a lot of that starts from the history of the club. The reason Escapers exists is from, a lot of the original club members were working, whether it was on site, electrician jobs or things like that. It was still working. It was just a different type of work. And now that we're in the transition and seeing, companies go remote or now be exposed, we're seeing a lot of individuals don't want to go back to work because they've now participated in remote working and understand that it's possible and doable. I think that could have potentially a big impact, and there's been a lot of surveys supporting that we've been following. So it'll be interesting to see what happens to the full-time side of that, full-time RVing side specifically, because I don't really know the answer. I don't know if anyone really knows yet.
I think the biggest thing is just kind of watching the trends and seeing where they go and taking it as we can. But I feel like as far as supporting the working RVers, we are there. If there's any resources that the community wants to see from Escapers, because it was built off of community need. We worked with Chris and Cherie from Technomadia, and we gauged what is it that the working RVer needs and wants to sustain this lifestyle on the road. So we'll just watch it and go from there and see what gaps we need to fill.
Well, it's just so nice that people no longer have to wait till they're retired. I mean, I guess it depends on, first of all, you got to have the desire to travel. And if you've got the desire to travel and you have a job that allows for remote work, and I would suggest you go to your employer and tell them all the benefits of being on the road and how much happier you will be. And,
hey,
it works fine.
And it's funny as an employer, with the club and the business itself, even in our company, we've been remote. I have a lot of remote workers for years now due to people RVing. We have a lot of staff members that are obviously full-time RVers, including Brandon Krenza and some big important positions that we've all been comfortable. Even myself and Melanie, while we're not full-time RVers, have been remote for
several years,
5 years, 6 years now.
But what was just said reminds me to point back to the RVers Job Exchange. We created this resource, and I feel like this will be a pivotal moment for that resource that we've created, because our goal with that has always been to educate employers how to hire RVers to be remote workers and the benefits that come along with it. You wrote that article many years ago too about, it was just the same thing that you said. Go to your employer and tell them that you don't see a need to go into the office, and be courteous about it, and respectful about how you see that working for you and the benefits. But it's possible, it's not.
You're absolutely right, Mel, because so many employers, they it's not even on their radar. I mean, as far as RVing or even remote working, okay, they picture you remote working from your office in your house. But, so hopefully we can broaden that to, you really don't even have to be anywhere near. If you've got a good internet connection and Zoom, you're good to go, and you're a self-starter and a good worker, you're fine.
Yeah. And I know we've mentioned their name several times throughout this broadcast, but Chris and Sheree, they teach you how to be able to get internet on the road, which is the most crucial piece of being able to work on the road. I think it scares a lot of employers that they're like, well, that's a little unstable traveling from place to place. But no, it's not, when you have people like that creating the resources to guide you through the process. So
Cheryl hits it right on the head. It takes with the dream comes the courage and the determination to make it work. And
and I definitely think companies will be more receptive of the idea now, for sure. Now that they understand that there's tools out there that make it manageable, it's not complicated, and honestly, it's in a lot of ways more productive for a lot of people. So
not the foreign thing that it was at one time, for sure.
Right.
Yeah.
So,
well, before we move on, I know we kind of went off track. I did like this question that I saw. I'm new to full-time RVing and to the club. How do I meet in person other club members? It's a great question. And that is really one of the main pieces of Escapees is the community. We pride ourselves on having a very family atmosphere, and we hold a lot of events throughout the year. We have Hangouts, which is the new Escapees program. We have the Hops program. We have convergences for working age RVers and our annual Escapade. There's so many opportunities to meet
and
people.
also our chapters in BOS as well,
absolutely.
which are chapters are our geographical interest groups, based on where you are. And the BOS, Birds of a Feather, are more of your special interest groups, such as working, hiking, whatever it is, those types of interests.
And unfortunately, we're at a standstill with those events right now, but as soon as it's safely to do so, we can't wait to start holding those again so that you can meet people in person. But you
still can absolutely get involved in the Facebook groups, is where it's a great place to start and meet people and connect and just kind of get the foot in the door, and just see how it goes and who you meet and who you talk to. And you'll be surprised, I think, of how many people respond and kind of are very interested in everybody that's involved in the group.
Yeah, and as things are starting to open back up and people are getting back together on a smaller scale, there's going to be plenty of opportunities that hopefully come up towards the end of the year.
The BOS and chapters and things like that online like that are a nice icebreaker, because then when you go, sometimes you'll oh, I recognize your name. And, so it's, depending on how outgoing you are, the first time you go to an event live, in person, it can possibly be intimidating with a big group, but sometimes just chatting with them online first and you're like, oh yeah, so it's kind of cool.
That's a great point. Yeah.
Yep. And for those of you asking about the internet and the resource, yes, absolutely go check out rvmobileinternet.com. And if you are a member, just FYI, we do have a discounts page that Chris and Sheree thankfully offered a discount to our members. So if you are a member, you can go to escapees.com, go to the member portal, and then go to the discounts page, and you can find that link as well.
Those guys are
the best of the best.
Absolutely. Yeah.
For sure. All right, so back on track. I like the conversation, though. It's always good to have. Thank you for participating, everyone, and kind of directing where we're going here. It's always nice.
Yeah, that's what these things are all about, is for us to feel like we're coming together virtually when we cannot be together in person. So
absolutely. Yeah. So on to where we left off is there anything left on your RV bucket list? Same question for the audience. So for you, what's your bucket list item? Maybe we have something of ours. And then if you're participating along, join in and let us know what your bucket list is. At this point, it might be just down the road.
We're going to go sleep in our driveway at this point.
Yeah, I'm interested to see some of those, see if there's anything that is on a bucket list that we've been lucky enough to scratch off. I tell you, one of the best bucket list items that we scratched was, we've been to Alaska, which is fantastic, but I'd never seen Alaska in the wintertime. So going in the winter was a bucket list item and seeing the Northern Lights. That was just so cool. And of course, there's no guarantees with those things, but man, that was nice.
Yeah, we're hoping to get back to Alaska again ourselves, hopefully next summer.
With us.
I've never been.
Yeah, you've never been in the RV. I mean, we've been to Alaska, but not in the RV.
Yes.
Not in the RV together. I went as a kid, and I really had a lot of great memories. I don't remember a lot of it, but
leave a comment if you think that Cathie and Bud should go with us, and make sure that
if anybody else wants to come along too, we'll figure it out.
Yeah,
I'm ready.
We're very excited about that, but I think another thing that I would like to do at some point is travel in an RV internationally. We followed Heath and Alyssa as they went through New Zealand in a travel van, and Peter and John as they went through from the RV Geeks.
I will say that, remember that trip that we did with Grandma and Grandpa?
I was wondering if you remembered. Yeah, we did Australia. Yeah. And New Zealand.
That is one of my most memorable trips, and it's on my bucket list to definitely go back and do that again with our kids, and maybe you guys come along, or who else. But yeah, it was such an awesome trip all around, and just being, we just rented that RV, and it was a fun time. I got my finger bit.
Don't go there. I saw Georgianne commented about Banff and maybe Jasper, but man, yeah, those are gorgeous places to go.
Yeah, Brandon said take a babysitter with you.
Yeah.
Hey. That's the only reason they want us to go to Alaska with them.
No. We're hiring Bert and Loopy.
Taking those boys hiking.
See some national parks on there. Agree. We haven't made it to a lot of national parks ourselves. We really look forward to doing that as well. Chris Dunphy says, haven't made it to Baja yet. Wow, really? Yeah. I'm surprised by that.
In your rig, I'm assuming. Yeah. Need to go.
We got to take that van. That would be a lot of fun.
Yeah.
There's these cool trips, convergences that go to, the Baja.
Yep. Convergences, chapters go to Mexico.
Chapter 8 that they go every year, and they have been for years and years before we started doing that as club too. But yeah, we've got the hangouts and the convergences that are both doing 10-day trips up there now. So
yeah, go check them out. They all kind of have their own little spice, I guess you could say, to them, and they're kind of unique in their own ways and offer their own interests. So they're pretty cool.
Yeah.
Those are some cool comments on there. I think Ireland, Travis, we did it by car. We toured by car, but that was fun.
Yeah, I mean, we didn't drive to Ireland.
We went for our friend's wedding last summer, and we were only there for 7 days, and we were like, should we rent an RV and just tour it? But then we decided
for that amount of time, it was kind of one of those.
We want to do like a month RV trip there.
Really, a New Zealand I don't know, caravan would be fun to do with escapers or escapees or a mix, it'd be nice.
Yeah, looks like we have a lot of people.
We've talked about this before. We've actually have some possible international ventures that could tap in. No real progress on making them, put them into the schedule. Obviously now, but I think it's definitely doable in the future.
Yeah. Some escapees did. I know my parents went on a caravan with a bunch of other escapees in Germany and Europe area. So they loved it. Just have to learn how to drive. It was a little tricky. And of course, my dad at the wheel was a scary thing.
Rich said his bucket list is he just needs his first rig.
Hi, Rich. Oh my goodness. Hugs to you.
Awesome.
Yeah.
Well, I miss you.
Yeah. Yeah, well, we talked a little about the personal side of your RVing journey. So let's shift into a little about your escapee side of the journey. You know, you were very instrumental, both you and Bud, very instrumental into a lot of these services and benefits that all escapees members know and love today, like the mail service.
Yeah, I mean, the mail service is absolutely, definitely, I give you credit for that. I mean, you really kind of made it all bring to life. So I hope we kind of get some applause here, those of you listening, because it really wouldn't happen without Cathie, my mom, bringing that to life and kind of spearheading it. So it's a really, really awesome service. But we'd kind of love to hear your how did it come to be and why?
Yeah.
Thank you. Of course, you know, there's a huge staff involved in that these days. You know, I helped spearhead it. It was, you know, kind of under my charge as one of the first jobs. But, you know, it's come such a long way over the years. You know, the reason we started the mail service, you know, was back in 1985. So we had already been full-timing for, I think I'd been full-time for 10 years. My parents probably for closer to 15. And we'd used mail forwarding services, and there was several commercial services out there, but they just didn't have the flexibility and the customized services and the things that we would really like to offer to the members. So once we purchased the land and built the offices there at Rainbow's Inn, we were able to actually offer our own mail service. So we got it started, and you know, it just, we had all our growing pains, but the main focus was to provide truly custom, personalized service. And the second side was to really provide the education side, because we heard some pretty bad horror stories out there about people, they just didn't get it. They were full-timing. It was, you know, new. Even counties and cities and states didn't know what to tell people that were full-timers, where to register your vehicles, where to get your driver's license, insurance. People were spreading it all out, you know, it was pretty crazy. So educating people basically on domicile and, you know, the parameters and the importance of that, and creating a true physical legal address, and all that part of it was a big piece of it as well.
Yeah, it's you know, it's a pretty complicated service to wrap your head around. I mean, even, you know, working for the clubs for so long and even filing mail at times, it's a really impressive operation. Honestly, it takes a whole slew and team of people to pull it off
and you
seamlessly.
have to be very attention detailed to make sure, you know, especially as you're getting into those categories where you're able to be very picky and choosy about what you want to save on postage. So every day the team is down there, you know, reading a list and just making sure that every detail is taken care of. So
yeah, and for those,
we lost him. Now I'm in charge. I don't know if y'all can hear me or not without them on, since they're the host. Can you hear me? If you can, put a little note over there on the sidebar. Maybe it's me. Thanks. I see the yes. Gosh, I hope Travis and Mel get back on here. So the yes you see is me. Okay, good. So let me tell you, while they hopefully can reconnect, that the mail service, you know, today is extremely sophisticated. Like they were telling you, we've got probably about 12,000 box holders, and if you times that times 2, you know, that's over 20,000 people. And it's just, we have, you know, sorting equipment. It's just an enormous process. So hopefully any of you out there in the mail service, I see somebody that has a 102 Rainbow Drive. So yeah, so not knowing who we might have online that has mail service, don't do that to me. I'm not the techie person.
It's all good. No worries. Hey, it's part of being live, and
I was like rambling totally. Sorry.
You're good. What did we miss?
I don't remember. Yeah, what did we leave off with here?
I was just talking about the mail service and how it's grown. You know, it's up to probably 20,000 plus individuals, about 12,000 box holders, and we've got.
That reminds me. Yeah, that's what I was going to talk about is for those of you that are possibly new to RVing or haven't started RVing yet or still don't really know why you would need a mail forwarding service or the benefits to look for, we do have a pretty awesome article on our website. Maybe somebody can help us out from the team and share the link to that blog post, how to get your mail. It's a really great article that actually Mom helped the majority put that together. So a lot of great information. It's super detailed about all the benefits of what you look for. It's not just promoting Escapees as mail service. It's about what you need to look for if you're going full time and need a mail forwarding service. So
and it's not only did you make the entire service happen, but you also even later down the road spearheaded making sure that there was options for Florida, South Dakota, all of these domicile states that are heavily popular in the RVing community. So thank you for doing all of that for Escapees, because we wouldn't be where we are today without you, for sure.
That's very sweet. Thank you. But it's kind of it's a collaboration for sure.
Yeah, for sure. Everything's always collaboration for sure. But
it's a lot of knowledge to get to the point to know the steps you need to take to be able to provide those services, though. So
yeah, especially back in the day when the team was pretty small. So, but I mean, anyway, that's just one thing you've done, and obviously you've done a lot of stuff for the organization. But I think another big thing that you're known for internally and hopefully externally as well is the advocacy efforts that the club has, and I feel, and I'm sure Mel feels the same way, that you're really were the spearhead for a lot of really critical and crucial components of advocacy as well. I mean, there's a lot to talk about here, so we kind of talk about what big wins, or how do you feel about advocacy, and what big items do you feel kind of were the most critical to the organization?
Yeah, advocacy is, it was my passion for sure. Reluctantly at first, very much because we're such a diverse organization. We've always been really careful about not, becoming partisan and trying to stay very inclusive and all those kind of things. And unfortunately, sometimes advocacy issues become very political. And so for a long time, we kind of drug our feet on that. And then we realized that, man, if we didn't take the flag and carry it forward, no one was going to. But several bunches of issues hit us in 1990. I swear, if you go back and read the timeline, the advocacy timeline on our website, but go through, if you happen to have access to the old magazines and stuff, it's just, I go back sometimes and read those, and every issue had another thing that we were fighting. It was crazy. But the two most, not necessarily most, well, probably most important issues to me that I'm most proud of were probably the voting challenge was without a doubt probably the hardest 2 years ever spent, and the most weighty and passionate and scary and everything. And thank God we won as we hit the steps of the Texas Supreme Court. It took many, many court battles and overturns and appeals. But the other is the good neighbor policy that a lot of people don't realize, especially newer members, that it took us a good 10 years of fighting to reach a compromise that the industry would sanction and and kind of rally behind. And it was a major process. I hate to go into a ton of detail because I could talk all night about all those things. So I won't do that. But if there's any questions or you want to take it further, that's fine.
Well, so I mean, the voting challenge, absolutely. I mean, I remember I was very young. I think I was in probably 8 to 10, somewhere in there.
No, Travis, you were 12 years old, and you made a sign that said, "What about my future rights?" And we protested the Texas Capitol, and it was so funny because we had people, I'm not kidding you, I think there were people with walkers, and there were people in RVs tooting their horn. And to this day, the Attorney General's office, if I ever see those guys, they're like, "We remember you." So funny.
That's funny. Yeah, no, I remember those. Even the Polk County Courthouse, I remember going there first, and then ending up in Austin. And
I think that picture is somewhere on the website, either on the advocacy
really?
page
maybe.
or
if you see a kid with the
I have
hair,
it.
I don't have hair anymore, but back when I had hair,
you won't even recognize them.
You won't know it's me, but if there's a kid holding a sign, it's me. So, but anyways, yeah, it's really funny. I mean,
it was brutal though.
It was absolutely brutal. I mean, I remember the late nights and meeting and tagging along as a kid, meeting with the attorney teams and late at night at what was that place called? That food place in Livingston.
Whistle Stop.
Whistle Stop and all that. So
yeah.
I remember it, and I remember.
I'll never forget the funniest thing probably to me was we went in. The Polk County Courthouse is just a little kind of it's a fairly small courthouse and all wood and real cool. And these big high-powered attorneys come in there from the Attorney General's office to help protect our rights, come marching in. There's like 5 of them with briefcases, and they walk in there, and the fans going round and round, and the courtroom is packed to the gills into the halls with all escapee members, and they're like, this reminds me of Thornbirds. It was so weird because it was just like, wow, we stepped back in time. And to this day, probably the coolest thing I ever heard an attorney say to me was, it was the first time they got an opportunity to actually fight for something they truly believed in that was right. And it was like, oh, that's so cool. I'm so glad. And we won.
Yeah. And, it seems like those issues took place a long time ago, but you'd be surprised by the amount of advocacy issues that still arise today, and our CEO and attorney for the club, Sean Loring, now is kind of taking the reins on the advocacy issues and leading those up, and he does an amazing job. But also, the board of directors is still involved in that today, and you're a part of that. So we heavily rely on your guidance when it comes to big issues that take place.
Yeah, we actually.
Well, thank God for the torch being carried on by people like you guys. Grandma and Grandpa would be so proud. And, seriously. And all our staff. I mean, I have always said, and I know you guys agree, that we have been just absolutely blessed by the best staff in the world, the best friends that come together in the community of escapees. It is truly a family, and we're just, it's like, I don't know, somebody's out watching out for us.
That's an amazing point because, as these issues come up, there's not a day that goes by when we're fighting something that all of our staff members are giving their input. Brendan and Prince are full-time RVers. We have a lot of full-time RVers, and we have a lot of people that are just very passionate about what our members are doing.
I mean, you just look at the recent situation regarding the coronavirus and, keeping the parks open. I mean, I'm not going to go into the whole detail about it. It's all on the website at escapees.com/coronavirus. But there's a lot of efforts that were put into it, and it involved the entire team. It was a massive effort to do some of the things we did and all that too. So it's just an ongoing process, and it always is ongoing.
Yeah.
But you're doing exactly what Kay and anybody that reads the magazine have heard or talk about, the lamplighter. You're carrying that torch on, you're lighting the path for others, and protecting freedoms. And what's more important than that, especially when you love what you do and you love the lifestyle. Fighting for those freedoms is not necessarily fun, but it's so worthwhile.
Yeah. I totally agree. And so I think with being said, one thing we're going to go into is, obviously you're still involved with the organization. We talked about how you wrote that article, and you even wrote one about the Good Neighbor Policy. I'm curious what that is. It was an effort regarding to overnight parking at places such as Walmart, and kind of the ethics that you should follow when doing so. And
more like metropolitan parking. Is what I always called it.
Yeah.
And but you wrote a really great article on the website about that too, the history of it and why it's so important. And then you inspired us for the Boondocking policy, which you're well aware of as well. So, which ties in. So, but anyways, it's just obvious that you're involved, and we're so glad to have you still. And you're on my speed dial.
Me too.
But.
It's evident that as you're kind of shifting into retirement, you're never fully going to be retired. You serve on the board of directors. We have a meeting every other week, and then also once a week, we meet about things surrounding the coronavirus. So you're always on call, and we can't say thank you enough for everything you do for the organization.
Thank you.
That shines through to the members as well. You attend the escapades every year, every chance you can, and I think you said you only missed one in the history.
I think I've missed 3 actually, but they were all due to family emergencies.
Very impressive for the amount of escapades there's been. So
But by the way, when I said me too, I meant I'm just glad I'm here on the planet.
Yeah.
Getting older, you know.
No. Stop.
So, does anybody have kind of while we're getting close to wrapping up here? We're gonna finish with some other topics, or just kind of wrap up thoughts. But if you have any other final questions or thoughts or comments, please throw them in. Now is your chance, and we will try to hit them if we can.
Yeah. But as we're waiting for those to come in, if there are any, just want to cover some brief wrap-up thoughts. As we talked about earlier, we can't be together in person right now. A lot of our events are canceled through the summer, so we are trying really hard, and our event directors and our marketing team has been doing an amazing job putting together these virtual online events for you guys. So please keep up with that schedule. Join in if you can. JP Smith and David and Cheryl are both alternating hosting the Friday happy hours, and they're very relaxed. You just come in and have a drink, don't have a drink, whatever you want to do. Just catch up with new and old friends, and they are alternating hosting those between the Escapees and Escapers pages. So,
yep.
Yeah.
But you can join in on whatever you want.
Yeah.
You don't have to.
Exactly.
Yeah, exactly. So, and then we've got also the Quarantine Lives, which are awesome. We've got some great upcoming artists. You're going to have to help me out with who's this weekend. Do you remember?
I love those.
I know.
I don't remember either.
Well, maybe our marketing team, they're amazing.
They're all good.
Every single week, and if they're watching, maybe they can pop in some.
I know there was a schedule change. We rotated somebody. That's
yes,
why I can't remember.
There was a new.
But anyways, they're all posted on the website and also the Facebook group pages under events. You can check those out and follow along. But they're every Saturday.
Every Saturday.
And all ages will enjoy those. I think those are under the Escapers banner, but I love them. I absolutely love them. And it's one of my favorite things on Saturday night if I get a chance, because they're great.
Yeah.
Travis Bishop out of Nashville is this weekend.
Yes.
So yeah, I actually, speaking of that, Mom, we just saw Kevin and Emma Ridley shared that their kids, I believe it was Kevin and Emma, dancing to Pop Gun Rerun last Saturday. So it's pretty funny.
And of course, you can always sign up for the club emails to get the most up-to-date information about what's coming up on that schedule. Our marketing team has been sharing that information there as well.
And of course, today is your last day to buy T-shirts.
Do not forget. Hey, did anybody participate in the virtual 5K? That was a lot of fun.
That was fun.
Yeah.
I meant to. I bet JP did. I meant to, JP. Sorry, I wanted to do that, but
yeah, that was a lot of fun. It was a very easy way to get out and exercise, get some steps.
I don't know about
in.
easy way, but
it was because you could walk or bike or do some other.
Rewarding.
You didn't have to run it.
Okay.
rewarding. I don't know about easy. For some of us,
and you could get your little
including
profile
myself.
picture.
It was a lot of work.
Oh, stop.
It's a lot of work.
I wish I'd done it. Do it again.
Fun.
It's
It was
fun.
fun.
Yeah,
It
we
was a
may
lot
do
of
it
fun.
again. Let us know if you want
Do it
to
again.
if
Do it
you
again.
missed it.
Maybe we'll do another one.
Yeah. It's a lot of fun.
And then what else? But yes, today is the last day for the T-shirts. Again,
Hi, Laura.
link here soon. But it's the last day. We have two designs. One, some more campfires ahead, and essential services. Or
Essential since 1978.
yes, thank you.
Yeah. So after this, be sure to hop on there if you haven't already and grab yours before it's too late if you wanted one.
And we thank you all so much for your support. Thanks for honestly tuning in, and we hope you stay safe. And we hope to see you soon, either in the next virtual campfire or somewhere else online.
Thank you guys for everything you're doing, and bye everybody. Love ya.
Thank you so much for joining us.
Thanks, Mom, for joining in.
You bet.
Bye, everyone. We'll see you
Bye.
next time.